How's it going, everyone?
Good. Hello.
My name is Jerry Smith, everyone, and welcome to another round of Dissecting Horror. Sometimes weekly series of reunion panels, Q&As, discussions, etc. Tonight's one means a lot to me. This is a film that I have loved most of my life. You know, I'm 40, and so I'm so excited to be talking about Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. We have a really great group tonight to talk to everybody. We have the director, Jeff Burr. How's it going, Jeff?
Hey, Jerry. Well, thanks for having us all on, and thanks for keeping this movie alive and kicking.
Definitely. And we also have the film's two leads, Kate Hodge. How's it going?
Hi, everyone. Going good.
And last but certainly not least, Mr. Billy Butler. What is up?
Leatherface, potted down, Massacre. Hello. Thanks for having me.
So jumping right in, you know, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre comes out in 1974 and just, without a doubt, single-handedly changes the genre forever. It caught people off guard. It led to so many people making up lies to scare their kids. You know, there was a reason that Texas Chainsaw 3 was the first in the series that I watched as a kid, because all the stories of the first one that my father told me, I would go nowhere near that movie until I was 27, actually. But the first one came out, changed everything, you know, and Tobe Hooper comes back with a sequel that kind of trades in the terror for more of a kind of pitch black humor. When the third one comes in 1990, it's very much a return to form, down and dirty, mean as hell film. And it's just so enthralling to me. So I'm so excited to talk about it. And just jumping right in, you know, Jeff, prior to Leatherface, you know, you had directed Divided We Fall, a film that won multiple festival awards, you know, and then From a Whisper to a Scream, which is another favorite of mine. And
Mine
then
too.
it's great.
Oh, thank you.
And then Stepfather 2, which is another favorite of mine, you know, something that you and I have talked about before. Did that trajectory that your career was going with those films lead to Leatherface? How did that whole thing come to be for you?
Well, I mean, it came to me. Leatherface came to me a very traditional Hollywood way, where I had an agent, and at the time a fairly big agency, and my agent said, "Hey, New Line is doing a sequel to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre films. Would you want to go in on a meeting?" And I was 27 years old, and I had no real conception.
I didn't know.
You were
I did
that
not know.
young? You were that young?
Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, so the point being
our age?
that I had no real conception of a
19.
career, quote unquote. You know, I just love making films. So anyway, so that's what happened. I went on a meeting, and I've told the story a million times, but went on a meeting like in April, having just finished Stepfather 2, and they saw it. New Line saw it, and I had a meeting, and it was a pleasant meeting, fine, with Mike DeLuca and the producer Jeff Schechter at the time, who ended up dropping out of the project or moving on, whatever. Anyway, so you would say in a meeting like that, you would explain how you like to work, your background, stuff you like, what you thought of the script, and this was an early draft by David Scow. It was a little different, a little longer, a little different than what ended up being shot, but not substantially. It was virtually the same movie, except longer and even more nasty. And so you give notes on the script and say, here's what I think what I would do with it, and they listen and they say, okay, great, and you leave, and you either hear they want to see you again or you hear nothing. And in this case, I heard nothing. So yeah, I didn't, quote unquote, didn't get the job. And quite honestly, I didn't shed any tears on it. But I wanted to work with New Line because at the time they were certainly in a genre fashion, they were the top independent production company in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. So anyway, the long story short, they had hired another director who worked on the movie for a couple months, critical months, I might add, and then dropped out or had to drop out because of a contractual obligation or something. Something happened. And then they were scrambling to get a director. They went through a whole bunch of possibilities. And I think I'm not being self-effacing. This is really true. I was the first director that they could tolerate that agreed to do the movie. There was they kept saying, oh, when they brought me back in late June, they brought me back and said, oh, you were always our second choice, and we really want you to do the movie, blah, blah, blah. I'm not kidding you. I was probably the 12th choice, 13th, 14th choice. You know, I'm literally, I was the only director, or the first director that they could tolerate and have a completion bond with, et cetera, that agreed to do the movie. So that's how I got.
He's saying
that's how I got it. You know,
he's saying tolerate, but what he's not saying is total and complete team player, which I can now tell you after directing a couple things, not all of us are. So I'm sure that the fact that you have such an amazing bedside manner.
But I did. You know what? I didn't. I mean, I was pretty naive politically, you know, creatively, politically at that point, because all my other projects I had done had been, I generated to some degree, but the Stepfather 2 I didn't, but I had producers that were my brother and one of my best friends. So I was always
Nepotism.
operating for this movie. I had a kind of a creative cocoon that I didn't have to justify every friggin' decision to executives.
No,
you know,
definitely.
So this is the first movie that happened to me on, and I would say, I mean, just looking back on it, I always say, look, my mistakes on a movie are going to be more interesting than a production executive's mistakes. You know what I mean? So, you know, decisions. They're always going to be more interesting. Doesn't mean they're right, but they're always going to be more interesting. But I would never say that I knew it all or anything like that. Far from it. So I had a lot to learn, and I learned a lot on Leatherface. And the two people on this podcast, Zoom meeting, whatever, helped me learn big time. And they were wonderful, and it was a blessing to have both of them in the movie. And that's not bull. I mean,
but I've never done a movie in my life. When they did the whole take one thing, I was like, oh my God, you really do that?
So Jeff, can I ask you, so I know that when I got my chance to do my first thing, I was so naive that I thought, oh my gosh, they've hired me to direct something. They must really love me, and they must really entrust my vision of what I'm doing here. Yeah. And from the minute I started, all they did was hate me and doubt my every move. Did you have that same feeling, like, oh my God, they're going to love me?
Very similar. Yeah. You were me, 2.0. That's exactly what happened to me. To maybe lesser degree, but that's exactly what happened. And because they kept going on and on about, oh, you were our second choice, really want you to do it. And I'd never been in that position alone, before. So as I say, it was a combination of my naivete and their basic bare tolerance of me, one other thing I'll mention that caused a rift from the very beginning, just on a personality, because film making is all about chemistry, and that's below the line, above the line, everyone, the crew, the cast, everyone, and pretty much from shaking his hand on, Bob Engelman, the line producer, wasn't like a chum of mine. And that doesn't mean
none of ours. None of ours.
He was not. I just really think for a movie like this, he wasn't the best.
He was a total shit. He was a total shit talker. He talked shit on everyone. I was getting my fucking wardrobe, and I heard him talking poorly about me before we even started filming.
And his background was in studio movies, and this movie, was. I mean, it seems. I mean, look, it seems luxurious now, at least to me. But it's a low budget movie.
Yeah.
Comparatively speaking.
Compared to what we're dealing with now.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, so his background was counterintuitive to making a low budget movie, and that informed some crew decisions, et cetera, and that, you know, that he was the wrong guy for the job, but I mean, the movie came in on budget, on time, so what the hell, you know? So according to New Line, I'm sure he was the right guy for the job.
With the Weinstein experience that you had on Stepfather 2, I mean, having like a decent amount reshot, you know, against your wishes and stuff. Did you have any
in that movie there wasn't really a lot. There wasn't anything reshot. It was just a few things were added, a few
jumping cats and stuff.
You know, yeah, I mean, so that wasn't. That was a case of I fought all these battles with ITC, the company that made the movie and that financed the movie, and we agreed finally. Okay, everything. So I'm going. Okay, everything's over. The movie, the negative is cut. The movie's finished, and then they decide it was a made-for-video movie, direct-to-video, and they decide, you know what, we like this movie, and let's try and get it theatrical. And lo and behold, Miramax bought it, and that's when Harvey. I only had a few times that I was dealing with Harvey and specifically Harvey. What Bob was kind of in the background, and you just knew from the very beginning, literally from the first time I met him, that this guy is a creative bully, and he was trying to bully you, and literally that's exactly. And I got away fairly easily, but other filmmakers throughout the years have been, you know, had much more savage experiences, creatively speaking. Forget the other stuff that put him in jail. But let's just say I did not shed a single tear when the verdict came down in his trial.
Oh God, nobody.
Having gone through that stuff, I mean, did it make taking Leatherface?
And I don't want to minimize what happened. But,
no, totally.
Go ahead.
Having gone through that stuff with the distribution company and Weinstein with Stepfather 2, did it make taking Leatherface on, like, were you reluctant to do a studio film, or did you kind of think that, you know, okay?
Well, no, but you know, in my naivete, my agent was saying this too. My agent said, because I asked her, and she was, I mean, really interesting lady and everything, and so she wasn't an enemy by any means. She was my agent. And she just said something like, "Look, at the end of the day, what can it hurt? What can it hurt to do it?" And so, well, it did hurt me, but
that's what my agent. That's what my agent said when I wrote Return of the Living Dead 4. What harm could it do? Well, I can tell you.
Exactly.
I can do a drawing for you.
The thing with me, though, the thing was the harm, quote unquote. I mean, in a career way, so called. The harm wasn't necessarily doing the movie; it was my reaction to having done the movie. So I take full responsibility for that. So I kind of said I'm not going to do that. I mean, it was more my reaction to what happened on that movie versus the movie itself. In terms of looking back on it, in terms of career and that kind of thing. But it was just, here's the bottom line, and this is what always gets you. And Bill can back me up on this, and Kate can too, on an acting level. You love the fucking work. You love the work. You love it so much that.
Oh my God!
It was the most fun ever. It was the best.
But all I'm saying is, in general, any movie, you love directing a movie, you love making a movie, or you love acting in a movie. You would pay someone to let you do it.
That's
less.
Right.
Oh my gosh! That's why we all do it for free, or like $3, or give me a sandwich. I'll be in your meal. I mean your movie.
They now figure out that they've all figured out that we'll do it for a nickel now. So.
Yeah, they know that, right? Exactly. So you're never in any kind of negotiating position, really. Yeah, unless you're a huge, unless something blew up and you're huge.
Unless you're Eli Roth somehow.
That's where I was at that time. Just in my mind, that's where I was. I loved making movies, and the one thing that was very attractive, and this is going to sound stupid, but it was like I felt okay. Because they already had a big distribution deal for it. It's like, as soon as I took the job, okay, this movie's going to be released in over 1,000 theaters on November 3rd. So I'm going, man, the nation will know my work now, or something.
Yeah.
No,
But,
Jeff,
but that was an attraction, a big theatrical release. At least for me at that time, that in '89, that was a big deal, for me anyway. So,
Jeff,
so that was an attraction too,
Jeff, to put it in perspective, how quick this production went on. I believe the last time I talked to you for an interview for Stepfather 2, you mentioned going to the theater, I think, to see a film and seeing the trailer for Leatherface before the film.
I feel like,
Oh,
no, it's almost
way before.
As soon as I signed
Yeah.
I'm not. This makes a better story, and it may not be true, but it's damn close to being true. The day I signed the contract, that night I went to Grauman's Chinese Theater and saw the trailer. I mean, it was amazing, and it was about half full. I think it was Nightmare on Elm Street 5 or something, one of those movies. And
that's right.
The crowd
I saw the trailer before I even had a meeting on it. I saw the trailer before.
Yeah, I mean the crowd that was there went nuts.
Yeah, it was a good trailer.
Yeah. So they were publicizing it before they even started filming it.
Way before.
For sure. Yep.
Now,
Yep.
one of my favorite things about the movie, and there's a lot of things I love about it, is just how the cast is just phenomenal from top to bottom. I mean, there's so many great performers in that film. And this question's for Billy and Kate. How did both of you come into it? I know that you had to read with a whole bunch of different sets of people to get the chemistry right. Can you kind of speak on that?
Billy has the best. No, Billy, you have the best. Because I had just done like a Duracell battery commercial where I played a giant bear in a toy store.
That was awesome.
And I had done, it was airing. Yeah, that was how I got my SAG card. But I had done a ton of theater in college, and I had just gotten into film and television. I'd done 30-something. I did Tales from the Crypt. But I think this was like my third audition. And no, this was the first thing I got, acting-wise. So I got down and down and down, and it was just me and the redhead. And it was up to Billy.
Marsha Cross. That was Marsha Cross, by the way.
Marsha Cross.
Yeah.
The redhead.
And the other guy was it was Marsha Cross was the other girl, and Willie, what's his name from Sex and the City?
No, Willie Garson. I remember.
Yeah.
Marsha Cross, I have no memory of because you know who Mike DeLuca was.
Yes.
Totally for. I remember it specifically, and he brought her. I brought her in once, and he goes, and then he goes, oh, let's bring her in again. Mariska Hargitay.
Well, she got me back.
She yelled at you later.
She got me back because she took SVU from all of us, and has been working for 25 years.
That ain't all she did.
That was, in my mind,
that's funny.
That's absolutely true. Absolutely true.
Wow. Well, I knew it was Klaus Kinski for me.
He loved the way she looked. I mean, it wasn't really even about the acting. It was like he loved the way she looked. And
it was about Jane Mansfield. Come on.
Well, but yeah, exactly. Maybe or maybe Mickey Hargitay. I don't know. But the coincidental thing there, I knew, and it was had a little glorified extra part in a movie that Mariska did called Jocks. It came out of Jocks in like 1985 or 86, something like that. So I'd met her on that movie. She wouldn't remember it, but years ago. Anyway, but that's who it came down to But Marsha Cross. Here's the funny thing: I have no memory of her.
That was her.
Well, Billy
she was on a soap opera. She was on a soap opera at that time.
I read with Billy in front of
Bob Shea.
Bob Shea, and then Marsha Cross read with you in front of him.
Okay.
Yes.
And Billy picked me.
Well, Jeff ultimately picked you.
Well,
I remember
Jeff. Definitely the choice. But the funny stuff, that is just so funny. And on the other end, Teresa, my fiance, had mentioned, hey, you ought to look at this. She had watched a soap opera or something. She goes, hey, you ought to look at this guy, Brad Pitt. He's on the soap opera.
Oh my God!
Blah blah blah. And
fuck him! I fucking beat Brad Pitt.
He may have done Cutting Class at this time, or right around the same time, which was a horror movie he did. But the funny thing, his agent refused to bring him in.
Oh,
I will
remember
tell you
I
something.
remember, like, I was
That's
so
not the
naive
only
too.
time.
I was so insulted. Because he asked who the director was. The agency read the script and asked who the director was, and they refused to bring him in. Because he will not. He will not come in for you. And I was
see
like,
Brad Pitt, and I saw Brad Pitt and Robert Downey Jr. at the auditions for Ghoulies too.
oh my gosh.
I knocked him out of that one
like
too.
a year earlier. Yeah, that was like. Anyway, but the Willie Garson thing, that was my thought was like make them really like kind of polar opposites, and have like this nutty, weird dynamic that and what I remember is it was Willie and you in the final thing with Bob Shea. Bob Shea goes, we got to go with the Michael J. Fox guy. That was direct.
Well, all I can tell you is this: is at the final meeting, which there were many. It was Willie and I and Marcia Cross and Kate were in the lobby on that one weird floor with that side office where Jeff was.
I remember that. Yes,
they called us into that office, and then they called Marcia in. Then they called me in. And then Jeff goes, well, I'm not supposed to tell you, but I think I'm going to go with you. And do you want to do this? And I was like almost crying because I've been wanting to work with Jeff Burr since Whisper to a Scream for like 5 years or 3 or 4 years. Like when I first met him. I first met him at Empire where I was like, and
we met at Empire, I think.
I was a huge fan. So he said, I think I'm going to go with you. And I'm like, oh God. He's like, which one do you think you fit with better? I'm like, I don't fit with the soap opera girl. She's like her giant hair and all her makeup and I was like, I want to be with the normal. Now, certainly I know I didn't pull the trigger on that, but so anyway, so I went back and I kind of thought, okay, I think I might get this. And then Willie went in, and I don't know if I ever told you this, Jeff. And I can say this because obviously Willie has done very well for himself. But he came out of the office and he goes, "Have fucking fun on the movie." He just left. Kate, weren't you there? Weren't you there when he did that?
I don't remember, but I worked with him on White Collar. I worked with him on a couple of things.
Yeah, I mean, he's been on fire.
Like 20 years later, but I wish I had known that he was almost going to do this movie. Yeah, because 20 years later, when I was doing White Collar, I would have loved to say Billy Butler beat you.
Whoever I was with in the lobby, I just looked at it and I was like, oh my God, that was crazy.
Fun on the fucking
movie.
But and
guess what, Willie? I did.
One other tidbit, casting tidbit on Kate, and this is my memory, and
oh yeah,
I know it was on your resume. I know it was.
Of course, because I had nothing on my resume but little weird things.
No, but you had done something, either a play or a little film with Klaus Kinski as a director, or you studied. So there was something about Klaus Kinski.
No, I was studying mime in Paris, and he hired a bunch of the mime students in Paris he directed a film about the devil in Paris, and I wore a peasant frock and So it's like I've worked with Klaus Kinski.
So that totally impressed me because I love Klaus Kinski and
me too.
Crazy. And so that always stuck in my mind too. Good enough for Klaus Kinski, damn good enough for Jeff Burr.
I'm telling you, that mime school paid off.
I remember being so mesmerized that you had studied with Marcel Marceau. I was like, oh my God, this girl's a big deal. You have no idea. She's huge. She's studied with Marcel Marceau.
Oh my gosh. And our drive across Texas in that Mercedes, I've never laughed so hard in my entire life.
And I've never eaten so much now and laters.
I know.
Now, speaking of casting, I mean, Billy, at the time you were actually living with Vigo, correct?
Yeah.
I mean,
he was living with me, but yeah. No, I'm kidding. No. We split a house, and he had done. I think he'd done Fresh Horses. I want to say, and nobody really knew who he was.
He had done Prison for sure.
Prison. Okay. He was kind of people kind of knew who he was. I mean, Vigo, obviously has.
Wait, side note, I had a Honda CVC, and I drove them both to set. all the
Because
time.
neither one of us had a car. So anyway, he had done something. He was kind of known, and I couldn't believe I got the part. I was so happy, and and he's like reading the script and studying with me. He's like, "Who's playing Tex?" I'm like, "I don't know." And then like 2 days later, the guy quit. That was Tex to do like a Mazda commercial or something. And then
well, big money.
No. Well, timing wise, it wasn't quite like that. But I mean, technically yes, but no. But what happened on that was I'd seen Prison because a friend of Courtney Joyner had written it, and so I kind of poached Tom Everett and Vigo from that movie, and
I went to
Vigo. You're right. Vigo was like one of those guys that, in terms of the agencies, they all knew or they all suspected this guy is going to be a big guy. Even then,
yes.
I mean,
and they knew. What a prediction!
They knew. So they were very, he was very cautious and whatever. But in terms of stuff that he picked, but and you see Prison, and he's like in every shot of that movie, kind of thing. And he's, I mean, the movie is what it is, but he's a presence in it all the way through. And so anyway, so I go, this is the perfect guy for that part. And Bob Engelman, of course, like, well, what's he been in? This, that, blah, blah. And so he had to audition and this, and so he auditioned for that role, and it was like, it wasn't great, but it's like, I know what this guy can do, and so I was kind of overridden on that because Deborah Moore, the executive in charge of production, had a person that she really wanted to play that role.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened was he ended up getting cast, but like literally when the shooting schedule came out, like a day later, it's like, okay, here's and there was no wiggle room on this movie because it had to be shot. It couldn't be pushed back. It had to be shot at a specific time because everything was back timed from the release date.
Well, yeah, they already had the trailer, for God's sake.
Yeah. I mean, it was like booked in theaters. Everything had to be back timed from that. So you couldn't, if you push it 2 weeks ahead, you're going to miss that release, whatever. So this guy, and I cannot remember his name, and not to say he wasn't talented or whatever, but
no, he was good.
Said, look, my first day of shooting, which was like the third or fourth or fifth day of actual production, so probably the second or third day of production, he said, look, I booked this commercial, and I'm going to be shooting all day and all night on that commercial, but I can maybe make it to, maybe an hour late or 2 hours late to call, but I'll be having worked all night and day. I'll be a little rugged, I'll be a little tired.
Yeah.
I go, look. Yeah, so I go, so in my mind, I'm going, this is great. Look, you got to choose between that or this. I cannot have you on the set tired because every day is going to be a big, it's a push. Every day is a mountain we have to climb. And he refused because it was a national commercial, which is more money than he would have made on this movie for sure.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh God,
Kate, you know that, yeah, exactly.
Oh, hello, yeah.
So he said,
that's how you live for 7 years in Manhattan.
No. He said, no, I will not give up that commercial. They go, well, I can't. Then I've got to get somebody else. He goes, fine, get somebody else. And that's when I could get Vigo in there. That's how it happened.
Nice.
So it was a perfect one of the few instances where the cinema gods were smiling on me instead of spitting on me on that movie.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Now, Kate and Billy, I mean, you both get put through absolute hell the entire film. I mean, Kate, you're strapped to a chair for a long time. Billy, you're upside down.
Yeah.
Was the shoot? Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Was the shoot as grueling as it's portrayed in the film? Or it seems like
like Jeff Burr said, I can't believe he was only 27. I think I was 24. So Billy was 20.
I was 19.
21.
19.
So, young, excited, filming night.
Oh my God. So happy.
It was so exciting. There was nothing. Billy, can I talk? There was nothing. So there was nothing grueling about it. It was
No.
just so much fun. I mean,
The
how
only
can you
thing, I don't know about
imagine
you,
being-
Kate, but the only thing that was like kind of
Stop,
freaky
stop,
was when you get home and you're thinking about the chainsaw and being like this the whole time. That was the only time where I would get like this, but while we were filming, it was fucking heaven. I loved it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. No, driving home covered in blood during rush hour traffic and having people look in the door and be like,
Yeah.
"Are you okay?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"I'm fine."
Yeah. We would just get in the car. We didn't want to shower in those showers because sometimes the Teamsters put shit in our water. Like there was a big union drama, and we would just, me, Vigo, and Kate would get in the car covered in dirt and blood, and Kate would just be driving home tired.
But I just want people to realize Honda CC. I don't even think they make them anymore, but it's literally like smaller than a Mini. And Billy and Billy and Vigo were in the back, or they'd switch off in the passenger seat. It was the tiniest car. And anytime I turned left, the passenger door would fly open. So I'm like, hold on to that.
Yes. And I remember you had a picture of Jack Nicholson on your dashboard, and we would all stare at it and fall asleep.
Jack Nicholson. I'm like, he's my inspiration.
Yeah. It was fun. There was not one.
Yeah, there was nothing grueling.
Nothing at all. It was amazing.
I think we were too young to be like, oh, this is so exhausting. No.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. No. Kate and I were the kind of actors where even if we weren't working, we would be there watching them film, you know.
Oh, like, yeah, completely.
Yeah, most of the time. It was such a blessing.
Can I do that stunt? Can I do Billy's stunts?
Yeah, yes, because I don't.
Oh, and that's when Vigo broke my rib or cracked my rib when he pulled me out of the chair that I was nailed into.
Well, he got his payback because I think his rib got cracked too, so it was payback.
Yes, when he was lit on fire.
There was payback. Yeah, there was karmic payback.
Yeah.
You know,
so I was like, Jeff, I don't care. My rib will heal.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
Oh, it was so fun. And Jeff Burr was amazing for my first feature film director. I was like, this guy is so cool.
So cool.
You were like so mature though. I totally thought. No, I literally thought you were like 32 or something.
Me too. I thought he was like, this guy's like Alfred Hitchcock.
Well, because that movie aged me at least 5 years during the making.
Yes. Yes.
I can imagine because we shot, Jerry, we shot all nights, like night for night, like real nights.
Yeah, I mean that's
sound stage.
For a lot of the film, for most of the film, we shot night for night. And you would think, I mean, because there was a decision made before I came on that to build this farmhouse practically and shoot it there where you would probably now you would shoot the interior of it on a stage where you could shoot where you don't you're not slave to the night or the day. But in that, I mean, we literally were slaves to the night and shooting in Southern California during the summer, you have the shortest night, you know, I mean, so it was like
well thought out production designer person.
Yeah, we had to think everything out beforehand and then execute it when the darkness fell. So and the other thing is it's really true, and I'm sure Billy and Kate, you've experienced this time immemorial. When you do a movie that's mostly nights, and there's a period where everyone gets really loopy.
Leery.
Three weeks in, 4 weeks
insane.
Their biorhythms are completely, hacked, and so they're on a schedule.
It's like vampire.
They have no idea that they would ever be on a schedule like this, and so really interesting things come out, and that's some of my favorite stuff in the movie is like the interior of the farmhouse stuff. And when Kate is nailed and Billy's hanging upside down, it just some of the character stuff and all that stuff was that was really enjoyable stuff for me as a filmmaker. That was the really enjoyable stuff to shoot because every actor was totally committed to the role, and that's a gift to a director.
Boy, you know who was terrific was Joe Unger was just so good in this movie.
Oh
no, Joe was just wonderful, and Joe was just a guy that Annette Benson, she was kind of the in-house casting director at New Line. She brought in a whole bunch of people, but he was one of the people that she had brought in, and I really responded to him, and I go, man, I recognize you. Weren't you in a movie called Go Tell the Spartans? And you go, oh man, that was my first movie, and blah blah blah. And it was a really good underrated movie with Burt Lancaster, and he was just a joy to work with. I mean, he was just he was from Tennessee, so he had kind of the
get out the big skillet.
Yeah. So he was a really good guy, and R.A. the R.A. Mahaloff as Leatherface was just everybody was.
But I think, I don't know if anybody else, Billy or Jeffrey, thinks that, like, when you're an actor, an artist, director, writer, whatever, like, nighttime is when you're most alive.
For the most part, yeah.
That's a biorhythm thing, and that's certainly. And there's people say that's everyone else is asleep, so we can play. You know, and that's very true, very true. A lot of truth.
And also, just performance-wise, if you're people who are running from chainsaws, you know, I talked to my acting teacher before I started this, and she's like, "Let the chainsaw be your motivation," and that was very true. Like, it was not hard to act scared at all. You know,
no, if it's close to you, it's a scary fucking sound.
Yeah,
you know?
It scared the shit out of me.
Horrifying.
And that's a regret that I have in the movie, is there's not enough of because that sound should have been there, you know, at least the sound should have been there, you know, unconsciously or whatever, almost from the beginning. So, but yeah, it's
26 years later, my dad, like, when he hears a chainsaw, he'll be like, Kate, I think that guy is coming. So it's a great sound, and, you know, it's good for the whole family.
You know, after the film was finished, you know, it was put through the ringer by the dreaded test audience.
What?
You know, and right, and you know,
not from the test audience. That's
was it from the studio?
That's erroneous, but
it's from the MPAA.
I'll give you the very quick thing that happened. We had a test screening in Burbank, and this would have been like late August, early September, and it went pretty good. It went pretty well, and it got better numbers than some of the other movies they'd made. They were somewhat happy. You know, okay, yeah, we can work with this. At the end of that test screening, there was a group of New Line people that we sat around with, and the head of foreign sales at New Line, which was obviously an important component to the company, financially speaking, said, why did you make this movie? I can't believe it. A guy named Rolf Mitwig, who was a German, and he goes, this movie will be banned in every country. I cannot sell this movie overseas. It's too nasty. It's too this. It's too that. It's too bloody. It'll be banned in every country. So Bob Shea turned white.
Was that your German accent?
What am I going to do with this fucking movie?
And then the next day, literally the next day, Bob Shea comes in the editing room and it says, I want to watch the whole movie, reel by reel. And he said, reel by reel, he said, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. And it was just heartbreaking then, okay? Mm-hmm. So this is way before the MPAA. So I think the movie's eviscerated then. Then we start mixing it. We lock picture, quote unquote, and we start mixing it at Glen Sound, which is a wonderful, amazing place on Seward in the film post-production district in Hollywood. You felt really like a real director when you're supervising a mix at Glen. It was just wonderful, and they were so great. And anyway, so then the MPAA, it got submitted to the MPAA, and then that's what happened. It was like 11, or it was a record at the time, 11 or 12 or 13 submissions to the MPAA to get an R rating. And it had to get an R rating because RCA Columbia, which was a video company at the time, had co-financed the movie, and they said, and their Blockbuster was the biggest buyer, and Blockbuster policy was they would not take anything that was not R rated. I mean, in other words, if it was X rated, they would not stock it. So it had to be an R rated movie. So that's and about halfway through the submission process, Richard Hefner, who was the head of the MPAA at the time, told Bob Shea, look, this movie will never get an R rating. Forget it. It will never get an R rating. And they kept going. So the movie kept getting cut and cut and cut. So the movie ended up getting cut and cut and cut for all the stuff. So there's no the so-called uncut version or whatever, unrated version, is the foreign version that was like it was just basically a version that had a little more stuff than the theatrical, that made me look a little more competent, because the theatrical version that went out, there were a couple scenes that you go, what the fuck just happened? You know, and that was you know, obviously a a spike in my heart, but the point being, that's got nothing to do with the making of it, and that's probably this movie had taught me this, which is, it's an adage in any kind of creative endeavor: take the joy in the process, not the result.
Definitely. Right. And you know, when a film has questions for its audiences and they don't quite get something, it seems like the director is the first person put under the microscope, you know, and I can't imagine how it would feel.
No, and rightly so. In the most cases, that should be the case, you know, rightly so.
No, but what I mean is, like, when they see Ken Foree get a chainsaw to the head and then suddenly he has a Band-Aid at the end, you know, as the director.
Okay, so that's something. Crazy. Okay, that is something. No, forget me. Kate Hodge, you shot that. Did you? Okay, when you were shooting that, did you go, "What the fuck am I shooting"?
No. Didn't you shoot like 3 or 4 endings?
All I mean by that is, how would this make sense in the context of the movie?
Well, I love the insane ending, but then I mean, because it was my first film, I didn't know how things worked. But I was like,
what about Benny showing up with a Band-Aid on his head?
That's what I'm saying. When you were shooting it, did you go, gee, how is this going to work? I mean, huh?
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, well, it's the movies. He survived the pit. And I was like, I'm still in the same dirty leg warmers, so I must be in the same movie. I was in the same little bloody outfit.
We all had dirty leg warmers on that one.
But now I'll answer this question. I think I was told, now did Mike Canoe direct that?
I don't know.
So you had nothing to do with.
I don't think anyone directed those pickups.
I think you know what? I remember Bob, line producer Bob.
No, it's too good for Bob. No, trust me.
Oh. Well, he was there. He was there.
Right. Yeah. No, sure. I'm sure he was there. Sure. But who was directing it?
I have no idea.
Let me guess that Bob was smug while he was there. I'm taking a shot in the dark.
I do remember that. I mean, it was 3,800 years ago, but he was smug. He's like, we have to get this ending.
Yeah.
We have to release this film. And I just remember saying, is it going to really go in theaters? Because my mom will never believe it. I was just so naive and green at that point. I was like, I can't believe it.
When was that? Okay, here's another question for you, because I don't know the answer to this, and you probably have forgotten it. But when was that shot?
The same, because we shot in March, right?
No.
No, summer, August.
Summer, yeah.
Yeah, we shot in like, we started shooting in July, like middle July.
July and August. So it was before the end of the year.
The end of
it was like September, October.
Probably October. Okay, gotcha. Well, it might have been even November, even. But yeah,
I don't know. I'd be a bad witness to this one.
We were mixing the movie.
Career murder.
We were mixing the movie during the World Series in San Francisco when the earthquake hit.
Oh my gosh! So I made this movie right before my sister got married.
And you destroyed San Francisco as a result.
That was October, middle of October, probably in '89, and that's probably the last
Oh.
I can think of for me.
Well, it was
You know, I
still
was
warm. We were by Magic Mountain. It was still warm. There was a beautiful
Yeah, so
sunset
it
or
could have been
sunrise.
November. Yeah, it could have been November. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah,
Kate,
I don't know.
Still going.
Kate, going from Leatherface to, I mean, not too long after She-Wolf of London, was it a different experience going from this down and dirty production to something like that?
Yes, it was, but it kind of was the same thing because I was a
Right.
waitress before Texas Chainsaw, and then after that came out and I did a few things, I had to go back to being a waitress. And then I got She-Wolf of London, and I was like literally flown to London overnight, got all the special effects, the full wolf costume made. And then
So
it was this sort of there was sort of this guerrilla British crew in Bristol, England. So we were in a smaller town in England, and it was just kind of that same kind of rock star ragtag thing because it was an experimental TV show with Universal and Paramount.
So I'll give you an actor's nightmare. Kate and I finished Chainsaw Massacre, and we are of sturdy working families, and we both say right after we finish filming, we go, we're going to get jobs right away. We're not going to fuck around. So we both go get waiting on tables jobs in the same restaurant, and I'm Gingham Garden. I'm not kidding you. 2 days into getting the waiting on tables job, Kate goes, I fucking quit. I go, why? She goes, I got my own series. I'm all with plates on my arm. I'm like, what? She's like, I got my own series. I'm like,
just left there with lasagna.
Yeah.
Billy, you'd been working there 2 days. I think I'd been working there like 3 months.
Oh, did you get it before me?
Yeah, I was working there, and you're like, hook me up, girl. And I'm like, I got a job at the Gingham Gardens if you're ready.
And then I got fired from that place because I had Greg Nicotero's Cadillac, and Elizabeth Perkins came in. Elizabeth Perkins comes in, and I'm the only waiter there. And then she's like, "Can I get capers on my bagel?" I'm like, "We don't have any capers." She's like, "Could you ask the owner if you could drive to the store and go buy some?" So I go in the back room. I tell the owner, "This bitch from the Flintstones or whoever is wanting want me to get in my car and drive to fucking Gelson's and get her capers." And the owner goes, "We'll do it," right? So I'm like, fucking freaked out. I get in Nicotero's Cadillac, that aqua blue Cadillac. Do you remember it? That convertible,
yeah.
It's like 8 a.m. I get on Melrose and I turn onto Melrose in Nicotero's car, and the fucking axle breaks, and I'm stuck in 8 o'clock traffic. So I don't know what. This is before cell phones. This is before, I had no change on me. And I remember finally calling her, and that lady goes, "I don't care if you broke down on the fucking moon. If you're not back with Elizabeth Perkins capers, you're fired." I fucking quit. And P.S. I give away free desserts. Boom! And hung up the phone.
Oh man!
I will
never look at Elizabeth Perkins the same way.
Oh, she was a monster.
And what was really cool, Jerry, too, about going from Leatherface to She-Wolf was what I didn't know happened on Leatherface was all the editing and post-production and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Where in Bristol, when I was with all the basically kids making She-Wolf, I got to see the editing, I got to see post-production, I got to see, and when I had to do ADR, when I had to voice over all my wolf outs, like after they edited, they're like, "Oh, you want a pint, Kate? Here's a pint and some cashews." And so I'm like, where am I in this world? Cashews.
You're in heaven.
Yeah, it was amazing.
That's awesome.
So Kate, did Mick Garris contact you about any other films and stuff, or what?
Who? Oh, Mick Garrett? No, bastard.
Didn't he co-create the show or something? Didn't he? Or
yeah, with yeah, they also co-created The Big Bang Theory, and they completely forgot about me on that one.
Well, that was a nothing show, so you didn't miss anything.
The Big Bang Theory.
Well, closing this out, I just had one more thing.
But here's the thing, though.
Sorry,
Okay, here's
Jerry,
one
you're
thing
being
I
interrupted.
find,
No, go.
no, I find great is there hiring Kate and Billy. There's no guarantee that they would ever go on to anything.
And
the
as it
fact
turns
that
out, you were right. No, I'm kidding.
No. What I'm saying is that the fact is, you guys, in terms of real world thing, you've had great careers, and that's wonderful. I mean, you feel very paternal when you cast someone and then watch them go on. You know?
That's true. That's true.
It is.
It was.
And I'm just very happy for both of you, and you know, and then there's that bond. You always have that, whatever you want to call it, like the wartime experience or whatever. You
exactly.
Bond.
My first director, Jeff Burr, my number one director and first.
Klaus Kinski was
Klaus Kinski was like, mime number 4, get under the rock.
Well, but anyway, but you feel very, as a director, you do feel very, paternal, or just at least you got skin in the game, that you follow their careers. And
I just remember. I remember
the
three of us.
This is not baloney. I just hope to work again with both of you, and I feel very
yes.
Billy, write it, or Jeffrey, write it.
No, but it's very strange. It's very strange, but conversely very normal that we haven't worked together since.
That is true.
I know.
Because I will say this, it really truly was just the three of us at a certain point. I remember us all kind of looking at each other going like,
that totally.
These are the meanest human beings that I have ever been surrounded by in my entire life. And we just did, Kate and I especially were like, is this how they treat the director? Like they were so rude to him and so rude. And oh man, that is the honest to God truth. I honestly felt like it was just the three of us.
You develop that rhino skin or whatever, so it's a learning process too, so
elephantitis.
This helps, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Closing it out, the legacy of Leatherface continues to grow over the years. I mean, growing up, I felt like I was the only outcast horror fan that liked this movie for the longest time. And year after year, the fan base for this film grows and grows. Like I see online so many people, when this was announced, there were so many people that were so excited about it, that it's a film that its fan base continually just ascends with time. For all three of you, how does it feel to be a part of a film that continues to grow with fans?
Amazing.
The best feeling in the world.
Awesome.
Yeah, truly. I'm not bullshitting. It is fucking magical. It is. When people, because I don't talk about my acting career very much anymore, but when people go, "What? You were in a Chainsaw Massacre?" It is the best feeling in the world. I
met a young girl that lives next door to me. She's like 15. And she's like, yeah, whatever, Mom. Who are you talking to? Like, her mom and I are friends. And she's Kate. Kate was she was actually in Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 3. This 15-year-old girl was like, it's my favorite movie. No way. And I made an autograph for her, and she was flipping out. I'm like, you're 15. How do you know about this movie? She's me and my friends just love it. And I'm like, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it right now.
I know Kate and I will forever be thankful to Jeff Burr for taking a chance on us. I cannot thank you enough.
No, but here's what I'll say about that. That I remember vividly going, they invited me, and I stupidly went to the Fangoria convention in 1990 when the film had just opened in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was standing in line for something, and nobody knew who I was or whatever. Rightly so, they still don't. But it's like hearing people talking about having just gone to the movie and say, "Oh, that Chainsaw Massacre movie, man, there's no blood. Oh, they fucked it up. Oh, blah 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 blah." I mean, and just hearing these New Yorkers talk about it, and that was like incredibly scarring. And then. But then now 30 plus years later, it's shown all the time. I mean, IFC showed all the time, and now Sci-Fi Channel. It was shown on November 13th. Somebody had emailed me and said that. So that's a testament to every actor that worked on the movie, specifically Kate Billy, Vigo, and Miriam.
R.A. with his
R.A.
of course, and
Tom
Tom
Everett.
Tom Everett, all those guys.
Tom Everett.
But also the one thing,
Ken
the
Frey.
lasting thing, it was Ken is a god, and that was a difficult casting thing, because Mike DeLuca said he's Dawn of the Dead. Don't bring him into the Chainsaw Massacre territory.
That's crazy.
Go, no.
That was crazy.
And so many people from Dawn of the Dead came because of him. That's great.
No. But the point being, who I want to say something about, which we all pay tribute to, is Tobe Hooper. And we would not have been in this position to make this movie if it weren't for Tobe Hooper. And
we love Tobe Hooper.
And Tobe Hooper called me after the movie came out.
What did he call
said,
you?
I want to have lunch. I want to have breakfast with you. I want to talk to you. And
wow.
And it was just a wonderful. It was just, and then I ended up knowing him a little bit throughout the years, and it was just a wonderful thing. And he was an incredibly talented filmmaker, and we would not be talking for hours like we're talking now if it weren't for him. And so I salute him and hope that he's at peace wherever he ended up.
Me Definitely. Too. I loved him. I loved him so much. He was a very nice guy.
Me too.
I loved him. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a really and incredibly underrated. It sounds crazy to say it, but he really was an underrated filmmaker.
Oh my gosh!
And so many people knew. There was like William Friedkin and Spielberg.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
Because
I believe he was too down to earth and too real to kick ass in Hollywood. He didn't give a fuck what any 25-year-old executive told him at all.
I agree.
I worked with him.
I know you worked with him, exactly.
Yeah, he didn't care. Yep. I have the best story I'll tell briefly. I know you guys don't want to keep it on this track, but I wrote something that we were pitching at a company, and me and my writing partner were pitching, and Tobe was there. Tobe was directing it, and my writing partner and I were writing it. And then Tobe was just quietly sitting there. And then some 25-year-old goes, yeah, we know about the story, but we want to know what Tobe Hooper's vision of this movie is. And Toby's sitting there like picking his beard, and he's like, what's my vision? What's my vision? My vision is that you cocksuckers pull a dump truck full of cash up to your bank when I'm done. That's my vision. And I just was like, I now have a best friend. They were floored.
Yeah, he was
good.
Funny. Definitely a legend. Well, that about wraps it up. I would like to thank all three of you for taking part of this. Like I said at the beginning, this movie means so much to me and so much to so many people. So we definitely appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks for having us. Thanks for having us. And the funny thing is, I learned stuff on this podcast. I learned.
Yeah, I learn every convention. I learn stuff too.
Yeah. Exactly. So Jerry, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, everyone who's watching.
Thank you all. Thank you so much. And Jeff, thank you again for helping me have such an amazing life that I can't even believe that I have. So I really appreciate it.
Stop it.
Yeah. Thank you again.
Well, to everyone watching,
everybody.
Thank you. To everyone watching, thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed this Leatherface Texas Chainsaw